Hey guys, if you're wondering why you're seeing me doing these videos coming from home, is because today I'm giving my arm a break. And I thought I would do other content in the meantime. I am going camping. I plan out heading very soon. So please be patient. It's just today I'm giving my arm a break because yesterday I suffered severely with it. Um, we're having beautiful, beautiful hot weather. So just for today, I'm doing these videos, and I wanted to do another video to talk about what gives me hope. And it's been like this all my life. What gives me hope? Number one, it's knowing God is in control, first and foremost. Always, always in control. I firmly believe that with my entire being, with everything I've got. Firm believer in that. But I am also a believer in something that most people tend to disagree with. I find a lot of people disagree with this statement I'm about to make, and that is pre planning, a life that is pre planned, and destiny, or even meant to be, whichever one of those three you want to title it. I am a 100% firm believer in this. And that will be the case for the rest of my life. I know I've had people throughout the years that I've run across, I've had many people, there again, the old saying, life is what you make it. Life is what you make it. Now, the reason why I have a problem with that is because, personally speaking, in my experiences going through my life as an experiencer, has proven to me that that is not the case. Not entirely. Now, I'm aware of free will and choices and all the things that make up life. Okay. I get that. I understand that. But what I am here to tell you is that the majority of the things that have taken place and transpired in my lifetime were the things, and some of the greatest things that have happened in my life were things where it was like accident. It was nothing that I did. It was not a choice that I made. And that's why I have a problem with people saying life is what you make it, meaning that if you don't do X, Y, and Z, nothing's ever going to happen. Obviously, these people have very boring lives. I don't know. They feel like they have to be in full control and that they are in the driver's seat and that everything that transpires in their life and they get to experience is all because they caused it. They're responsible. They're the ones that made everything play out exactly as they wanted it to. My life doesn't work like that. I don't know what these people do, but my life does not operate that way. Never has. Some of the best things, my greatest memories and experiences in my life have been just random, out of the blue things that I never saw coming at all. Was not even aware of it, was not thinking about it, was not trying to make it happen, had no idea. And then boom, voila, there it was. And I've even been shown in visions. I've talked about this in past videos, and I could care less if people believe in this sort of thing, that it's even possible for it to happen. But it has to me, and I'm a person that believes in 100% honesty. I have been shown things that were going to happen in my life as if it was pre planned by something. And I was shown it. And it said, this is what you're going to do. This is what you're going to experience. And this is what you're going to get out of it. And by God, if it didn't happen to the T, exactly, image by image, word for word. So, what does that say to me? That says to me that something just showed me something that was going to happen in my life. And no matter what I did, it was going to play out, guaranteed. And I didn't even have to do anything to get myself on the path in order for this to take place. This is what I'm trying to tell you. So when people say life is what you make it, that's not always the case. Yeah, there's things you can do in this life to make things happen, but it's not all about being in the driver's seat. There is a lot about life that is unexplained where things will happen and take place that you had no idea was going to happen. It wasn't even anything you thought about, something that you even tried for. So those people that say life is what you make it, if you're one of those people, then how in the hell do you explain that? I'd really like you to explain that to me, because I have had it happen so often in my life to where I am absolutely rock solid, 100% convinced in meant to be destiny. Now, could all of this have possibly been shown to me beforehand, before I came to this earth and agreed to this life and became the person that I am, right down to how I look, act, sound, what I do? Did I agree to it? And if I did, maybe I was shown all this stuff, and then it says, yeah, that looks like that's a life that is acceptable to me, and I'm willing to endure it in its entirety. I don't know. I'm not here to proclaim I know. What I'm saying is that things have happened in my life, and I have been shown things into the future, and people say you can't see into the future. Oh, yes, you can. I've done it. I've done it. I've made predictions and done videos about it, and then it's happened. I got proof that it's happened to me. Not to mention the people that I've admitted it to before it's happened, to where I gave them my verbal testimony and I told them exactly how this was going to happen, right down to colors, weather, location, place, all the things that were going to transpire. And I said, this is going to happen. Mark my words. And boom, it happened. And then they saw it for themselves and they're like, you told me about this 3 months in advance. And they cannot deny that fact. Now, do I know what has shown it to me? I don't know. I can only assume it's God, a guardian angel. I really don't know what is responsible for it or why it shows me what it shows me, but I do know that there are things that happen in my life that I have absolutely no control over, yet they unfold, whether if I see it or not. Many times, many times. And so this is what gives me hope, is knowing that something is in control that will bring good things into my life, regardless of what I do or how I live or my choices or my actions. It just says, this is going to be. This is going to be, period. Regardless of what I do. So, no, I am not a person that believes that the only things that happen in life are by my choices or and what I decide to do every time I walk out the door, to say, when I leave, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And nothing else is going to happen because I only want this to happen. No, there's a bunch of things that happen that you have no control over. So you're telling me that everything that happened in your life was everything that you had control over and you made it all happen. You just magically made it all happen. I don't believe that. And if someone says, yeah, Kev, I made everything in my life, liar. You are a liar. You're not being truthful with me. Everybody's had unexplained weird stuff happen in their life, and not everybody talks about it. I have no problem talking about it. I can talk about anything, and I mean anything. That's what gives me hope in life, is because it's like there is something that is for you, rooting for you, helping you, saying, okay, I see that, you've been working hard at this, or you've been trying to do this, and maybe it didn't go the way you wanted it to, but boom, here, I'm going to give you something that's going to just really make you happy. Something that's going to bring you a lot of joy. It just seems like that happens in my life a lot. I mean, even right down to relationships. Did you know that most of the relationships that I've been in, I never even tried for them? Didn't even try at all. They came into my life just out of the blue, out of the blue. And it's very, very strange. And I'll give you an example. I've talked about this in a video before, so I'm not going to get too into it. I'll be brief, but one night in the wintertime, freezing cold out, snowing and blowing. It was nighttime. It was starting to get late, and I got a phone call from a very good friend of mine and another former guitarist, super long blonde hair. Guy was, into heavy metal. His name was Jamie, and he gave me a phone call one night, and I was sick as a dog with the flu. And he says, Kev, and I could hear the commotion in the background over the phone. He was at a nightclub. And he says, Kev, you need to get down here to this nightclub. He told me where he was. I knew the establishment. It was way on the other side of town. And at that time, I didn't have a car. And on that night, I had the flu, is about as bad as you can have the flu. I mean, I was sick as all get out. I wasn't even dressed. I had no shirt on. I had just like joggers on, no socks. And I was in bed when the phone rang. And I said, Jamie, I am sick as hell. I says, I'm not going to I didn't want to go to no nightclub where it's loud and loud music and beer and drinking. Who wants to drink when they're sick? Anyway, he insisted that I go to this nightclub at like 9:30 at night. And I told him, I says, no, I'm not going. And he insisted so much. He says, Kevin, he says, you either get and this is what he actually said on the phone, you either get your ass down here, or he says, I'm coming to your house and I'm going to drag you down here. You get down here right now. And he would not tell me why. No reason. No, I even asked him, I said, why do you want me to come down? He said, just get down here. That's all he kept saying without any reason. I got extremely mad. I told Jamie, I said, I'd like to see you come to my house and drag me down there. I says, you're going to end up upside down outside in the snowbank. I says, all right, blank, blank, blank. I'm on my way down there, but man, let me tell you what, you better be there when I get there. I went in, I got dressed. I called for a taxi cab. Taxi cab was running late that night because it was bad weather. And the cab pulled out front, honked its horn. I went downstairs. I got into the cab, sick as hell, running high fever, sniffles, everything. And I get down to the nightclub, and this place is hopping. I mean, it's hopping. Friday night, packed to maximum capacity. You could hear the music just coming from the building outside, just banging. And I go inside this nightclub, show my ID to the bouncers and everything, and I go into this massive crowd of just mayhem of all these people partying and drinking, and the band's playing, and it's loud as hell in there. And I'm looking for my buddy that called me and told me to get down there. Nowhere in sight. I make my way through the crowded establishment, and I'm looking for Jamie because he's about my height, so it's not hard to see him. And I'm looking around, and I don't see my blonde-headed friend anywhere. Where the hell is he? He wanted me to come down here so bad. Where is he? I thought maybe he'd be watching the door for me to come walking through the door so he could come up to me, but no, nowhere. I go through the establishment. There's two different other levels in the bar, and I'm looking for him, nowhere. And I eventually go to the bathroom because I thought maybe he's in the restrooms. And I go in there, and I had to take a leak anyway. Felt like I could throw up while I was in there, and no Jamie. I'm like, my God, where the hell is he? So I figure, okay, well, I'm here. I might as well go up to the bar. So I squeeze my way into the bar, and the crowd parted a little bit. And I asked the bartender for a drink, and I got a beer. And I thought, oh my God, this night is just a fiasco. And so I sit down and I have a beer, and I'm waiting for Jamie now to look for me. And now I'm sitting at the bar. It's like, here I am. You should be able to see me if you're in here. My friend never showed up that night. But across, and this is different from the Melinda story I told you, because this is the same nightclub. Across the bar was a woman staring at me, just staring at me. And I thought maybe she was looking at someone past me. And so I wasn't sure if she was looking at me, but then she come over and started talking to me. And long story short, she ended up giving me her phone number, and it ended up being Dawn, the girl I told you about that I was going to marry back in 95. That's how I met her. Never did see my friend Jamie that night. A few days later, I called my friend Jamie. And I says, I'm going to kick your ass the next time I see you. And there was silence over the phone. And then he says, what? Why? I says, for you getting me to come down to a nightclub at 9:30 at night on a Friday night when I got the flu and I go out in a snowstorm via a taxi cab to a nightclub because you insisted on me coming down there and then you took off. I says, I'm going to beat your ass when I see you again. He says, Kevin, what the hell are you talking about? I says, you know darn well what you're talking about. I says, I tried to tell you how sick I was and I didn't want to go. And you made me get down there only to find out you took off. He says, Kevin, I didn't go to the nightclub that night. He says, I knew how sick you were. He says, I never even called you. I says, Jamie, you called me. He says, Kevin, I did not call you. He says, I swear to God. He says, I swear. Because Jamie was kind of like afraid of me a bit. I don't know why, but he was, if I got mad at him, he would get scared. And he's like, Kevin, I promise you, I did not call you. Honest to God. He says, I did not call you to come down to no nightclub. He says, I wasn't down at the Boulevard Cafe that night. He says, I didn't call you from the bar. He says, I didn't call you from home. He says, I didn't call you at all. He says, I knew you had the flu. He says, I didn't go out that night. He said, I was home too. Who called me? How did they sound like Jamie? And after I got together with Jamie, we talked about the story again, and I could see it in his eyes. He was not lying to me, you guys. He did not call me. He swore on the Bible he did not call me. He says, Kevin, I would never do that to you. He says, I'm your friend. He says, I wouldn't do that. He says, I surely wouldn't talk to you that way over the phone. It was meant to be that I was meant to meet Dawn in order for the chain of events that happened that ultimately led me going to California later in 95. I do not believe life is what you make it. Lots of times in my life, things happen that I never even dreamed would happen in my life any more than I ever would have thought in a million years that I'd end up later that night on a night when I had the flu, that I'd be in the middle of a crowded nightclub because a friend called me over the phone and was so persistent when he vowed that he never called me. Something called me. Something that mimicked my friend's voice to get me to go down to a nightclub. That's why I believe in it meant to be. I don't know what called me. I don't know how that even happened, but it did not happen via my friend. And it sounded just like him on the phone. It basically was his voice. Something took his voice to get me to go down there. And to this day, I can't explain it. And that's how Dawn and I ended up getting together. So sometimes you can end up in a relationship without even thinking about it, without ever imagining it. It's like it was a miracle. Something got me down to that nightclub that night because I was meant, for whatever reason, even though that's not the best way to meet somebody, it didn't last very long. The marriage never happened, but for whatever reason, whether I was meant to be in her life or she was meant to be in my life or both, for that time window in our lives, it was meant to be, because it was like the supernatural got me to go down there, because it was not my friend that did it. I've been shown in the future vehicles that I would own that I vowed I would never buy just because of the color of the car. Red. I can't stand the color red on any car, van or truck. I would not buy a red vehicle. So when I saw it in a vision and something said, this is going to be your next car, next, as in recent, next vehicle, going to be this red sports car. And by God, if that isn't what I ended up with, the very car that I would never want to buy, but I had to because it was the only thing available for the money I had to spend at the time when I needed a car. And the damn thing was red. And it even showed me the seat covers inside the car. It showed me driving the car. I was looking through the windshield. I saw the dash, the steering wheel. It showed me the whole car. And it was the very car I ended up buying much, much later on. So, no, I do not believe life is what you make it. I believe it's predestined. I believe in destiny. I believe in meant to be. And no one will ever change this mind otherwise. I've had way too many things happen that tells me, life isn't always what you make it. Stuff happens. Stuff helps you out. Stuff comes to you. Stuff makes things happen, whether you want it to or not. Just like when I almost died when I was 17 and God sent me an angel to stay with me for 7 nights. I didn't make any prayer. I didn't pray to God and said, I think I'm dying, send me an angel. I didn't even know I was that bad. I must have been pretty damn bad for him to send me an angel, because he sent me an angel, a full-blown real angel, for 7 nights. So I obviously was in much worse shape than I thought I was. And I would say to myself much later on, what was it that made the decision for God to send me an angel? Was it at the point when I hemorrhaged? Was it after the second emergency surgery? Was it after I got back to my room and he thought I would need extra care? At what point was the choice made for him to assign this angel to me for 7 nights? So no, life is what you make it. Bullshit. I don't believe that. Don't ever tell me that, because it's an argument you will not win. Thanks for watching, you guys, and we'll see you again. Bye-bye.